As elections draw closer, alliances are being formed. Notable is the coalition of United Political Parties' adoption of Atiku as consensus candidate. Will the Social Democratic Party get on board with this? Here is what the party's National Secretary Shehu Gabam had to say on this and other election-related issues.
First of all, most people say this elections, the presidential elections, really is mostly between the two major parties, the PDP and the APC. So what do you believe your impact will be, in this particular elections on the presidential level? Let's start from there.
Well, first and foremost, it is wrong. It's not correct. It cannot be an election between the two people. And it is an opportunity for Nigerians to prove those two parties who feel they have monopolized the political environment that they are wrong, that times have changed, situations have changed. If you have the history of where we are coming from SDP, to compete with the two parties who thought they have a monopoly of everything, we have proven to them that they don't have. We conducted congresses and have structures from the ward level to the federal level. We conducted also election primaries that we produced a presidential candidate, a governorship candidate, senatorial candidate, House of Reps, State Assembly. Despite the fact that we don't have any subvention, we don't have senators, we don't have members of the House of Reps, we developed that capacity to bring SDP to a main force party as it is today. Apart from recently when we have the campees from the Senate and the House of Representatives, we have done everything humanly possible to provide an alternative outside PDP and APC. And I can assure you, and going by the rating of the presidential aspirants, they mentioned three. They mentioned President Buhari, Atiku, and then Donald Duke. Those are the three that are on the top range of discussions.
Interesting. So, permit me, let's go there. Let's go to Osun State. There were a lot of controversy about how the election was run. And there are people who believe that Omishore colluded with the APC to, get the results to where it is. Now, some people who still have that history may wonder, is that a possibility in the presidential elections as regards SDP? Is that a possibility?
No, absolutely not. You have to look at the peculiarities of what happened in Osun State. At the top range of those that are contesting for that election, SDP was on the top range. Everybody thought that nobody would have defeated SDP, but something went wrong along the line, and which is part of what we have reacted over and over, and also put a lot of pressure on the Independent National Electoral Commission to adjust their processes and also the security agencies from taking side, because that was part of what set us back in Osun State. And of course, it led to the runoff of the election, and there must be a winner at the end of the day, and there must be a sort of pairing and understanding between the two. So the negotiation skill went wrong between the three parties, between the PDP, APC, and then the SDP along the way. And we were not part of that arrangement as SDP headquarters, but of course the conveniency of the states pursue the situation they find themselves on ground. They feel like going into relationship with the APC without the consent of the SDP at the national level. So that was what happened, not that it was consented by the SDP headquarters. It wasn't. We are not part of such arrangement at all.
That is pretty interesting. Now, let's talk about INEC. You have been very vocal. Your party has been very vocal about your distrust in them and doubt in their ability to conduct free and fair elections on the presidential level. Now, my question is, does that doubt still exist as we speak? And if that is the case, what are you doing to ensure that your votes are safe during the elections come 2019?
First, it's not distrust. It's observation. We are making critical observations in the strategic interest of the country, in the strategic interest of having transparent election, because that is what provides decency, sanctity, sense of belonging, sense of participation, for a voter to exercise his franchise and that franchise being protected. That's what we've been talking about. Our observation has been so strong, and INEC has been keen into it. The national chairman of INEC has been so proactive, and you can see the willingness and the commitment in him to ensure that he conducted free and fair election, because he will be part of the history of conducting free and fair election or otherwise. So our observation has been so strong to an extent that it created consciousness within the INEC, it created consciousness within the other political actors to ensure that the right thing is being done, because INEC is a public outfit. It doesn't belong to the institution of presidency, and therefore their service is to the Nigerian nation. It's not to any individual. If election is being conducted, free fair election, they take the credit, and of course the international community will hope them for doing the right thing at the right time, especially at this critical time when our democratic structure is being threatened by a lot of issues, a lot of forces that don't believe in the transparent way of running campaigns and coercing individuals into a sort of submission to their own personal interests. So we are happy that we put a lot of pressure, and we are putting more to ensure that we witness the best election that will be acceptable to everybody. Factors that are responsible for transparent, acceptable election are four. One, the institution of presidency, who assume themselves or put themselves in the position of controlling the INEC and the security agencies must change. Two, the INEC must do their job diligently and make sure that they deploy the materials that are needed for election. Three, the politicians themselves must convince themselves that this election is about the country, it's about democracy, it's about strengthening the institution of democracy. So they must conduct themselves within the possible areas of civility to make sure that the election is free and fair and is being acceptable to all political actors.
Are you now saying that you trust INEC?
And of course, the INEC themselves must create that confidence building mechanism within the political space. So it's not about trusting, it's about doing the right thing. Even if you don't trust them, they decided to do otherwise, there's nothing
do you
you
have confidence they will do the right thing?
I have confidence in the INEC chairman. I have mentioned it severally. I have confidence in the INEC chairman. I have said it severally. But it is not about him.
Exactly.
It's about other individuals that are working with him that perhaps doesn't have the kind of zeal, the kind of commitment, and the kind of belief in entrenching a strong institution of democracy that will guarantee a voter a conducive atmosphere for him to come and cast his vote and be satisfied that his vote count.
Okay, so let's factor in all the other persons apart from the INEC chairman who you have faith in. Let's factor them. What are you going to do to ensure, your party going to do to ensure that these elections are free, fair, and credible, protecting the votes that come to SDP, assuming all the other people around him, do what you are afraid they will do?
Well, all these are within the parameters of the law. As a party, we are telling our voters who believe in us, who believe that we are going to bring these changes, that you mobilize and go to the polling unit. When you cast your vote, stay within the parameters that are approved by the Electoral Act or by law, that you should stay there and ensure your vote counts. No violence, no creating havoc or distractions at all, but you must ensure that the vote you have casted are being protected.
Have you seen an article recently released by a well-respected London-based magazine called The Economist? They predicted that the opposition will fall apart before 2019 and that Buhari will win re-election. Have you seen that? What do you think about that?
I don't believe in such analysis because they don't know my environment more than me. The economists, they are doing their theoretical analysis, theoretical perspective. We are on ground. We know our country very well. We know our challenges very well. They are relying on feedbacks of politicians or agents that they pay them to do some analysis for them. But I've gone through this process for a very long time in this country. I've gone through process of leading an election, and I won election against an incumbent. And it has happened. And also, don't forget that PDP that I've been for 16 years was defeated against all calculations and analysis. So there is a difference between you are conducting an opinion poll in a society that is well organized, well structured, that can give you the accurate analysis of what you are looking for, than a third world country system of democracy that is growing and is full of dynamism and changes because of peculiarities that are coming on board, either economically, socially, and infrastructurally, that will create those feelings and shift of balance, the paradigm shift within the parameters of election. This is basically what the issues are.
Assuming the opposition parties were to come together, finally agreeing to come together to form a strong opposition, even with the PDP coming together, everybody to defeat the incumbent, would you be on board with a thing like that?
No. SDP is an independent party. We have built our structure independently. We did not sought for help from PDP or APC to this extent that we are today. We built it independently. So there's no reason why we should compromise our structure. to any political party. There's no reason, absolutely. We went through processes. Those processes conducted congresses, conducted primaries, candidate emerged. Apart from PDP, SDP has the highest presidential candidates. The highest. So we have come of age, of capacity, to show what we have for the country. So there's no way our presidential candidate would concede to somebody.
You know why I asked you that question? Because there are some people who believe that, the various parties, opposition parties, are coming to split the votes for the opposition, and then if you do the math at the end of the day, the president will be re-elected. So if that were a possibility, I mean, what do you say to people who say that?
Well, let me tell you this. Go and do a checklist of those political parties you are talking about. Most of them are briefcase political parties. They are not operational political parties. They don't have offices anywhere. They have not conducted election anywhere. Their convention is in a bedroom, a room and a parlor that they conducted, and presidential candidate emerges. We conducted our convention in an open place. It was covered live by TV stations. So we are not, you don't categorize us among those type of political parties. Yes, they are free because they are not operational. It's not easy to build a political party, to rent offices throughout the Federation of Nigeria by law, and also to conduct congresses, which is also very expensive. So you don't blame them. They have parties for survival purposes, not for election purposes. So they are free to go and negotiate and submit the authority to whichever party that is going to foot their bills. We are not like that. We are independent. We are strategically located in Abuja. Our office compete with all the two major parties in Nigeria, the PDP and the SDP. We have the capacity in terms of staff, in terms of operation, in terms of structures nationwide. So we are not a briefcase political parties. We are strong on ground, and every position candidate have emerged and are going into the election. So take us out of some of those perspective of briefcase political parties, please. We are strong enough to compete with the president, to compete with the PDP.
How is Professor Jerry Gana fitting into this? There was a controversy after the primaries, and some people, were wondering, is there a bit of a fracas? Is he on board with what's going on?
There's no controversy, and he has gone to court. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to go into issues of prejudice. Court is dealing with the issue, but he's a very strong and highly respected member of the SDP, and of course other diplomatic political issues are ongoing to make sure the issues are resolved amicably. So there's no any major issue there.
I want to get your thoughts on this cloning story that is going on. The opposition saying that the president could be cloned or an imposter and all of that. What do you think? Some say it's for political goals or political gains. What are your thoughts? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Anyway, anybody who is thinking that the president is cloned, I think he's mentally sick. He needs to go for psychiatric tests. Some of us that have a very strong background of both religious, culturally, and traditionally, we know that it is not true. Politics should not be so bad to an extent of demeaning our dignity as a people. You can differ with the president on a lot of issues and deal with them on the basis of how you differ with them. But this is a very parochial, very primitive way of doing things. It's not good for the country. It's not good for our future as people that are coming on board. I never believe in such perspective of package blackmail. That is fizzling out. It has to fizzle out.
Assessing itself as the third strongest political party in Nigeria, the Social Democratic Party believes it is well positioned to compete favorably in the 2019 elections. We will have to wait to see how things unfold.